When you lose your identity, how do you find yourself? It's Lenny Wennerstrom, and I am thinking about all of this today. Today has been, the last several days have been a little difficult, state of mind difficult, right? They have been very challenging for me in grief. And it brought me to think about, like, who am I? Who am I without Steve? I met Steve when I was 26, and he transitioned 2 months ago, and I find myself in a place where I'm not eating very much. I don't. I just, the last several days, it's just like, who are you without Steve? And it just, today, I was talking to my daughter, Lynette, who gave me amazing insight to help me with that, as did, and then I had support through my wonderful, incredible friend and bookkeeper, Grace, and just a lot of compassion and a lot of just talking through and allowing me to express. In fact, Grace told me that, she said, she said, when you have the emotions, you need to let them go. Boy, Happy Beans is just going crazy back there. Happy Beans, ya comiste. She has eaten so much today. I'm trying to have them not be so little rotund and round. Hey, Happy Beans, check out. So, and I gotta move that so she doesn't do that. Anyway, there's another one there for the other puppy. So for Happy Beans, for Flying Feather. So hopefully she won't get to that one. My point and where I was going is that I started thinking, well, and I've been thinking this throughout, like, what do I want to do? And who am I? And when am I happiest? And I started asking me, as a life coach, I started asking myself the questions, and I'm so grateful I have my own life coach, which is helping me immensely. Yet, these last few days have been, the grief has somewhat overwhelmed me. I wasn't exactly, I thought that I was doing really well, and I was doing really well, and I am doing really well. Yet, just that the lack of having my husband with me when we did everything from the very beginning, even our company and everything, we've just done everything together. Even when I became a personality in a radio station, he became the general manager there. And then we just, like, every single thing that we've done has been together. So it's, now I find myself just all of a sudden not together. And he loved food, and I love food, but I wouldn't say that food is like my main thing, although I love making salads and I love making food and I love eating what I make, but it's not something that just, I think about it all the time. And he loved food, and so I loved making food for him. And he loved, we both loved traveling in the RV. That was fun. He loved the planning and deciding where we were going and all of that. And I loved him doing it because I didn't have to think about it. I got to do my things, and then I would do all the grocery shopping and get everything ready on the inside. He would do the outside, the exterior, the maintenance and getting things ready, and hooking up the Jeep and all those things. He would do all the stuff on the outside, and I would do everything on the inside of the motorhome, and getting the pets ready, getting all our clothes together, all that kind of stuff. And so as these last few days have gone, and I'll get back and I'm not hungry, and I started really thinking, and it was Lynette, our daughter, today that said, this morning, she said something like, it's like your identity. And I wrote it down, like, when you lose, we were talking about, like, I don't know who I am. And I decided to, like, really do some exercises for myself and take the coaching that I do for others and apply it to myself and ask myself, like, what did I really want in life? And And what is it, when am I happiest? And I started doing a deep dive in that. And what I recognized was that I really had lost my identity. And on planet Earth, and I'm talking about not the spiritual journey, but the human journey, and having that compassion for the human that I am, Linny, having compassion for her, for me, for just what I'm feeling and the grief. And it's just knocked me. I've been going through like quicksand. I don't want to get up. I don't want to, I mean, I meditate and I do all my things, and I have my morning routine, and that's real helpful, but getting started is slower. There's a lot of thinking about Steve. There's a lot of wanting to call him, from across the room, or see how he's doing, or just some of his things come up still on his phone, and they come up on my phone, like to give him his homeopathy things, which I haven't taken off, which I probably should. But I don't know when I'm ready for that, to just cut the memories or the things that I did, and it's very individual and very unique. And it's, I think that identity of being a wife and being Steve's wife, and him being, I had the role of doing everything inside the house, literally homemaker, and he did everything, did all the finances and all of our investments, and I wasn't very interested in any of that, very honestly, and he loved it, and I was very interested in making sure that he had healthy meals, and that we got out and did things, and clothes were clean, and the house is clean, and the dogs were taken care of, and our pets, and just all the things, all the roles. And I'm trying to think of things, and it's just like my head is just so full of other things. So I just, I wanted to talk about that, losing your identity, because it's not just the death of a spouse or a loved one, a partner. And I think it's definitely different for every role that someone plays in our life. When you're with someone, they become, for so long, they really do become, for many of us, like your best friend, someone that you can count on. And Steve was my rock. He was my stability. Ooh, did not want to go here. So I was thinking to do these exercises, and I'm going to actually create these, probably just a little PDF or a little short course or something on what I'm doing to help myself. Because the thing is, when we lose our identity, or when we feel we have lost our identity, and very honestly, that is a 3D thing, right? That is the human experience, because we haven't lost anything. And one of the things that I absolutely love about Joe Dispenza, and why I do his meditations, and why I study what he teaches along with others, but it's neuroplasticity. Shad Helmstedter's neuroplasticity. I mean, I'm very much into the brain, but I'm also very much into the spirit and moving into consciousness. And I know that we are consciousness, and in the human form, we have, it's an honor and a privilege to experience all the things that we experience, including this gut-wrenching grief and awful things. We have all gone through things that are traumatic to us. And I mean, that's part of the human journey. No one is spared. People might have a better life this round than another round, but everyone understands losing someone, or a horrible disease, or just the things that happen on planet Earth. And when this happens, as I was moving through and using my own training as a life coach for myself, and after talking to Lynette, our daughter, I really started understanding that I am looking for myself, that I have forgotten who Lenny without Steve is. And that has been eye-opening. It's been a little bit, it was a little bit frightening when I thought, I don't even know who I am. And I broke down into tears. I'm like, who's Lenny without Steve? Like, I don't even know who I am anymore. And thank goodness for self-talk. Thank goodness for defeating problems. Thank goodness for the tools that I have. And this is why I'm going to put this together for you as well, because it's good to go through everything, whether it's a divorce or, again, the death of someone, or someone, a breakup, or losing a home, or you're an empty nester, your children leave, and all of a sudden you don't even know who you are, or you find yourself with a man who's your husband, or a wife who's your wife, but without the kids, you don't even know each other. You find that it was the kids that were there, and now you don't even know who you are together, and it's a little awkward, and maybe it's not real comfortable, or maybe it's fantabulous, but still, all of a sudden you're not, you're an empty nester. I was writing down, like, losing a job. Like, how can you lose your identity? Retiring at the end of however many years, 40 years or however long, and you retire, and then all of a sudden it's like, who am I? Like, your identity was tied up in the job, in the relationship, in the marriage, in the child, in the children, in rearing the children, and mother, wife, father, daughter, with the homemaker, the roles that I was telling you. Steve took care of, taking care of, he had the company and pretty much did all the finances, and I took care of the house and all the domestic things, and just the roles that we play and the identities that we identify with, that's who we are. And when there's a shift, when something shifts, it can be incredibly, like what happened to me, and is happening to me, although I'm taking control of that, because I have the tools, thankfully. But when it first happened, like this morning, and the last several days, I was reeling, because I didn't, except for my meditation and my self-talk, it kept me buoyed. But I needed to go through the emotions to figure out, like this morning, I just broke down crying with Lynette, and I tried not to, and I did with Grace, my friend and bookkeeper, and I just broke down, because I didn't even know, like, where to put all the emotions. And when Lynette and I talked about that, not just the grief, but the identity, and when I told her I don't even know who I am, as I told Grace too, it's like I was still working through it, and I just felt so, it came to me through the day that I know who I am. I do need to do work on what I want to do. I know what makes me incredibly happy. I know what my purpose is. I know I'm here to serve. I know that I am here to help people on a very fundamental level. My passion is helping people change their self-talk, for one, because I know that that's going to change the way they think. So if I can get you to download the self-talk app and start listening to the self-talk language every day, so that you can change your brain, so that you're thinking positively rather than negatively, that's going to change your self-esteem, your self-confidence, all of that. So I know that that's part of my purpose. That's part of how I express my purpose in helping others. It's just very fundamental. It's fundamental. It's spiritual, and helping others to understand who and what they really are, and how powerful and empowered they really are. And so I know that, and I know the direction. I know the direction I'm headed. Yet that just this big sweep of this huge shift in my identity on planet Earth, it rocked me. It rocked me to the core. And it's still, I'm still in the, the kayak going like this after a big boat passes by, right? That's what I feel like. But yet, or I mean, I'm feeling much better. This morning I was like that. Yesterday I couldn't even do the video yesterday. I talked to my friend Jamie for hours, or mostly I listened to my friend Jamie. I was like, tell me all about your life. And I loved learning about her, and she's had such an amazing life. And it was just, and I was so grateful that she would take the time and just share, because I didn't have to do anything but listen and enjoy and move out of where I was. And so this, in the last video, I talked about me time and getting yourself together, prioritizing doing the things you want. In this video, it's just this about the identity. I am going to create some really short courses or little videos or something. PDFs or something. And I'll put it on my podcast as well. I'm getting ready to ramp that up. And I just, that feeling of just feeling unmoored, not having the stability, like Steve was my rock. And I could always come home. He never would fight. He was always positive. He was always logical, positive. He was always very logical, mostly positive. But I mean, just logical, just, I used to call him, my friend Amy, she talks about a robot man. And Lynette and I would call Steve, the alien man, because he would never get riled up or be upset or have, and I would always come home and there he was, and hey babe, how was your day? And, just so upbeat and things. And I miss that stability. All of a sudden I'm here and going through the house and he's not here. And I have, a challenge and I can't share that with him, and just so many things. And so I feel unmoored and not stable. And what I realized throughout the day is I'm my stability. I'm the one that I get to create all of that for myself. And I got a little bit excited. I've been a little bit excited about this new chapter in my life. The grief had not, it's working its way through now, and I'm sure that it will continue. And the most amazing thing is actually naming it, understanding it, looking at it straight in the face, and not just the grief, but the loss of identity that I knew that I wasn't eating. And I was thinking, it was really interesting. All my day, everything was around Steve. It was breakfast and dinner, lunch if he needed it, going out if we were going to, we mostly ate in, and just like if we were going RVing, he would say, hey, you want to, he would, people might say he's an Aries, and he was starting things, and he would, but he would finish things too. He was so, it's not that he was perfect in any way, because I felt like for many years that he wasn't very supportive of me and the things that I wanted in my business. And he told me, you have a very expensive hobby. And, but then he saw things turning around as I definitely got into life coaching and other things. But I did do a lot of, before I was a health coach. And that probably was more of an expensive hobby, because I was just learning and buying books and doing, learning all my herbalism classes and my homeopathy and all the things that I did. And then the things that I bought and for us. And so that was probably an expensive hobby. Life coaching is not. Life coaching is a commitment, and it's a calling, as well as my spiritual mentoring and guidance. That's a calling. My self-taught training of others. These are callings. These are my purpose, and that is definitely not just a hobby. So, and he was pretty. I could tell he was proud of that. Yet just this finding our identity, that my day was all what he wanted to eat, what needed to happen with the business, and what we were going to do. And then it turned into, the medical when he got, for like the last year. But it was just, everything was around him. And I loved being with him. I absolutely, if he said, you want to go to the post office and the bank? And it's like, yep. And we get the puppies and we go anytime, you want to go to dinner? Let's go. Whatever he wanted, I really enjoyed just being with him. I loved when he was just going to go wash the car and, you want to come? And I said, no. That was one I didn't want to go to. But mostly we did everything together. And it's just how interesting how that's coming to me, of how just how much I was invested in my husband and our time together and everything. I'm not saying everything was perfect, but it was pretty darn nice. And if I ever, wherever I went or did things, if people were, I always loved coming back home to him, because he was so stable and so kind. And so that this whole thing of now, who am I without Steve is here, and I'm naming it and dealing with it. And I'll tell you that the self-talk is, and I have the book, I haven't read the passage yet for the 18th, but it has so much to do with today, and just to remind me of the choices that I get to make, and really not like this huge search. I think when we're looking for self and all of that, and this is important, that we, that retrieval of self, when we forget. And it's almost like as children, we forget to play. We forget to have fun. We take things too serious. It's those pieces of us that we leave behind, and to rediscover them is really empowering, and it's powerful, and it's an adventure. And so that's what I'm doing now. My mascara is, I always tell you, it's organic. So meaning it doesn't have any glue in it. So if I cry or anything, it's just like goes down my face. So if you ever see mascara on my face, maybe it's not crying, maybe it's sweating, who knows? But anyway, it comes off. Even if I have water, it just comes right off, which is a nice thing health-wise, but it's not very nice if you cry, or definitely can't swim with it on. So this whole thing of retrieving yourself, these are things that I'm going to be talking about a lot on my journey. I showed you how you could excel in times of change when I was going through with Steve. I did a video every single day for you last year on finding your purpose, the positive self-talk for finding your purpose. And this year, it's just positive self-talk, and 365 days of positive self-talk. So neuroplasticity, the human experience, I weave in a lot of the spiritual, because we are both spirit and human at the same time. And the most powerful of us, who we are, is consciousness. And so when we fall into the living in the 3D world, and that's what it's all about, then we're in matter, and meaning we're not more energy, we're more matter. So everything is more dense. Planet Earth is very dense. And if we're moving at a low frequency, meaning grief, anger, frustration, things that we can get mired down in, and anger and victimhood, and it's blaming someone else because they did something, which is victimhood, right? Because if you're giving away your power, if somebody did something to you and that's how you see it, they did it to me, then you're a victim. And so it's it's good to look at that perspective and take back your power. And so these low frequency, when you are vibrating at those lower frequencies, that's what you're creating more of. And I have noticed that over the past few days, I'm just in this low frequency of grief, and it's hard to move, and only when I do my meditations and throughout the day, I remind myself of to move into the blackness, into the unified field, where there's nothing in the unified field except energy and potential. That's where all potential exists, and that's where you create. That's where the more that we're in that unified field, that's where thought is. And so this is why I love Joe Dispenza's what he teaches and his work, all of the scientific findings that he has found in measuring what happens with the brain and the heart and the mind, the heart and mind coherence, and how to, it's not manifest. It is manifesting, because we manifest 24/7. We are constant. We are manifestors. We are creators. And so we are constantly manifesting, but where are we manifesting from? At what frequency? And from where are we manifesting from? Planet Earth, where it's all matter, and from low frequency. So it takes, so time space versus space time. So space time is, if I'm going to get up and get a drink of water, and then I'm going to come back here and finish this video, it's going to take me time to walk over there, fill up the glass, maybe drink it, and then come back, and then it's going to take time. And so that is space time. And then time space is when you're in the fifth dimension. Literally, you've gone past the speed of light you're into consciousness. You cannot take your glass of water, or your body, or you cannot take your attitudes or your beliefs or any of that with you there. You are just thought. You are consciousness. And this is why I love going into that fifth dimension, or the higher frequency, where all potentials exist, and that's from where I want to create, from a higher energy. So, I mean, from that higher frequency, because that carries information and it's available to all of us. And so that's where everything exists. So that is just thinking about how to move from like the identity and move into choosing the adventure and remembering who I am. And even though it's the human experience, and I am totally doing, like, moving through it. And again, as I was saying that I helped you during that time, I did my very best to show you, I don't know if I helped you, but to show you how to excel in times of change, because I was going through incredible change during that time when Steve was in the hospital, and then he was in rehab, and he had the vent, and then the trach, and then he went to rehab, and then he went back to the hospital, and then we brought him home, and then we were living in the motorhome, and it was just immense change. And he had changed. I didn't realize that he had had many strokes until I didn't know that until 2 weeks. We brought him home 2 weeks before he passed, before he transitioned, and he had changed. Like, ¿qué hacen? Ven acá. The puppies did something. ¿Estás bien? Look, they look sheepish. So much for being very serious about all this. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, because this can take us through many places, but I want to be, and I have been, very, very vulnerable and honest with where I'm at with this journey. And this, just today, it's something that I think many of us go through. We lose ourselves. We lose what we feel is our identities, what we have identified with, as empty nesters, or or a divorce or a death, or whatever it is, a job, losing our homes, just absolutely anything, retiring. And it's like, well, who are we now? Who am I without this job? Who am I now that the kids have left? Who am I now without Steve? I'm using myself on that one, but I'm sure you have gone through it, or someone who all of a sudden they don't know who they are, and they get lost, and it's just like they don't know who they are anymore. That identity that they had identified with, that role that they were playing, or the roles have just gone away, and they find themselves like how I described myself, as feeling lost and kind of going through this house and not, coming home, and there's no one here, and then what do I do now? And so there's not a lot of breakfast going on, or dinners, or lunches, or there's dog feeding. And I would not say it's a good thing. I haven't lost weight, which, I mean, a lot of people in grief and other things, it just depends on the person, all very unique and different. I think there's a lot of inflammation that I'm carrying from all those months of never knowing what was going to happen, and the stress and the worry, and truly that self-talk. And I will share this again, but the tools that I share, and the training that I have received, and I do use all of it. It might take me a little while when it's me personally, and thank goodness for my coach to help me, this is why you need a coach. This is why I think I believe every single person needs someone to support them and be there consistently for them. And as a life coach, that's what I do. I am there to help you find, to create the right goals for you, and make sure that they are the right goals, period. And to help you to stay consistent. If it's something you say you want, then I'm going to help you to get that in your life, and help you to change those mental programs, things that are holding you back. Yet when it's me, I get lost in the human experience, and thank goodness for my coach, who pulls me right back in and helps me set my goals, and helps me do what I say I want to do, and helps me to remind me that, to, listen to my self-talk. She doesn't need to remind me, because it's part of my routine. And, but she helps me keep those goals right, and not like overboard, and helps keep my mind focused on what I want rather than what I don't want. And those mental programs helps me, continually to change those and to grow, and helps me with concepts that, as I help my clients, to help people be more successful in living life fully, and excelling in times of change, and finding success in every single area of their life. And that's what I'm doing for myself as well. So I'll be sharing a lot more about that, but I would highly suggest that that the self-talk for planet Earth, positive self-talk, listening to that, is probably the best tool that I've ever had. It helped me get through so much, as I've explained, and continues to help me. So with that, I guess I should read the passage. What do you think? Today is January 18th. We are 4.93% done with 2025, and it's 347 days left. So here's the passage, and it just fits right into everything I was thinking. Right now is a great time to make the choice, gather my energy, fine-tune my focus, get a clear picture of what I want to accomplish, decide to do it, smile, say yes to myself, take a deep breath, and go for it. And I read this, I was like, yes, I say yes. I say yes to the adventure. I say yes to, going through, figuring it out. What is it that I really want? Where am I going? and what makes me happiest, and you know, what made me the unhappiest, and those kinds of questions help to, and these are a lot of the questions I use in my coaching sessions, and to be able to answer them, and really just like the first thing that comes to the top of my mind, and has been very, very helpful today. And even though there's still a lot of emotions going through this grief, I am definitely feeling stronger and more empowered, and understanding by naming it, like, oh my gosh, my identity was all wrapped up in being Steve's wife, and you know, and being a family, like it's Steve, Lenny, and Lynette, our family, and we did things together, and it's like a three-legged stool. I'm looking at my tripod right now, and it's three-legged. If I took one of those little legs off the tripod right now, it'd fall over and we'd both go falling. But that's how it feels. Lynette and I, we have lost planet Earth. You never lose anything, right? Because he's in, wherever Steve is, he's consciousness. And I have conversations with him, and I hear him. I see him smiling when I do something, or, you know, being there for me. And that's very real. So I know he's there, not in a way that I could go and rub the top of his head when he's watching TV, or getting him something that he needs or something. But he's there. Yet that identity of being Steve's wife, and you know, that being a couple, being married, and the things that we did, and the traveling and the RV travel and all of that, it was like, do I want to do that? And I just broke down crying. I was like, do I really want to travel? Do I want to get in that RV and go? And I was like, I don't know. That's when I just broke down. I was like, I don't even know who I am. And as I go through it, it's like, yes, I absolutely do. But at that moment, I was like, do I really want that? And you know, it's a journey, and that's life. It's a journey. So this passage it's self-talk. And remember, I want to help you to change your self-talk. I'm helping myself to change my self-talk. I'm constantly listening to the self-talk language, because it rewiring my brain to be more positive, more can-do, and I am. I have been doing that since since before he transitioned, but definitely after. And then it's like the human experience, the grief somehow, whatever it is, caught up with me. And somebody might say, oh, that's this stage of grief, or that stage. And maybe it is. It's definitely a stage. And I tend to think that things aren't so linear. I think it's very unique. And yeah, I'm sure that there are, you know, humans, we can definitely be broken down into like certain, you know, steps of the way we do things, because we're human, you know, and we have a lot of the same emotions, and we just express them differently, because we are individual expressions of the one, and the one creator, the one divine, the one light, the one God, the one energy, the one source, the one. We are individual expressions of that. It's just a matter of degree. But we have all the constituents, and as the human, we definitely, so we can move ourselves to that higher frequency. Yet as humans, we do a lot of the same things, just expressed a little differently, how we go through things. So we will be having lots of conversations I will be having lots of conversations, and I hope you'll join me. And as I move through this, because I want to show you and show myself that we can excel in times of change, and we can find success in every single area of our lives. And it's a matter of our perspective, our attitudes, our beliefs. We can change our beliefs. That, you know, if I were to say, I can't do this, like I can't cope, I can't do this, and I could go to the funny farm or something, you know, you could do that. You could choose to do that. Anyone could choose, you know, to just barely stay depressed, drink, drink to excess, or go shop to excess, or do something that is, a vice, that is a tool that probably doesn't serve you. You're just trying to, a person is like just trying to escape. And from the feeling that doesn't, it feels yucky. And very honestly, that feeling it's called separation. And we are one, we are whole, we are one. And when we feel yucky like that, it's because we have disconnected from source. And that's another tool that I use, that even though as I go through the human experience and just flood myself with that compassion energy, that divine compassion energy, to neutralize those emotions when they're I let them flow through me, because I don't want them stuck in my body. I don't, on planet 3D, on the 3D, on planet Earth, in our 3D dimension here, our third dimension, things get stuck in our issues. The issues are in the tissues. And so I want that to flow through, yet I also don't want to wallow in it and make it get stuck that way and have it be congested in my body. And so I use that compassion energy to just flow through, to neutralize the emotions. And then I can come at it from a place where I can go back to the brain and heart coherence, and make logical and rational decisions, moving myself forward. And I can use things like the self-talk and the meditation and other things that I need to do, and all the other tools that I use with my clients to help them get through the day, and use them for myself, and my coach uses them for me. So it's really beautiful, and I really want to help you in times like when you lose your identity, when you feel you lose your identity, and when you're hurting and you don't have anyone to turn to. I want to somehow be able to help you as I'm helping myself. I want you to go through it. I think we all, it's an honor and a privilege to have these experiences, even though if they feel horrible or terrible or not fun. And yet just that moving through it, giving ourselves grace, and moving through it with grace, and not beating ourselves up. Not beating ourselves up. You beatnik. Not beating ourselves up, and just having that grace and giving ourselves grace is really wonderful, and not having to be so strong. I mean, I have my family thing. It's like, I got this, I'm strong. And I came at it. Like, there are times that I come at it. It's like, you're a Grossman, you got it. My maiden name. And you can do this. And then I think, that's a program. And I don't think I want to feel like that. I mean, I do have it. I can do it. But it's coming not from just like, just going to get it. I mean, determination is one thing. But if you're hurting and you're not acknowledging it, and you're putting on a brave face and all of that, that's another. And that's maybe escaping or worrying about what others will think, or worrying about what you'll think, or any of those things. I would call that all congestion, and that's not healthy. So anyway, that's about what I have for today. And that was, when you lose your identity, how do you find yourself? And the answer, I am moving through coming to a having some clarity around that. But I can tell you right now that your self-esteem is really important, and having the confidence, having your purpose, knowing what your purpose is, that's going to give you direction, because your purpose is not the roles that you played. It's not your job, or the role as a mother or wife or a husband, or a daughter or son, or whatever your career is, the police officer or firefighter, doctor, nurse, whatever. Those are roles that we play. That's not who you are. That's not who I am. Yet we on planet Earth, we get so involved in them that we think that's who we are. And then when that shifts for us, like Steve leaving, and you may have lost, a loved one, or lost, again, that's planet Earth. There is no loss or lack. We live in a very abundant universe, and everything has purpose and meaning, and I do believe that we chose it all. And if we chose it all, how could it be wrong? And that means Steve chose. He chose his entry and he chose his exit, and I chose to be with him during the time, and I knew that was going to happen. And I mean, I truly believe all of that. And so, not saying that you need to believe that, but it sure does give me a lot of peace knowing that he chose that, and I knew that going in. And so I know there's still a lot of it. There's adventure for me here, and what am I going to do with it? And that is exciting to me. Yet this whole just figuring out that we are not the identity, and how do we find self again? That's going to be a journey that I'm going to invite you with me to contemplate and work through. And I'm going to put some of my tools together that are definitely helping me. But just naming it helped me immensely when we were talking about it, when I said, I don't know who I am without Steve. I just don't know who I am. And when I told Grace that, because I said it twice today, as I've been moving through, and they both reassured me and said, all the things about me that I am, which was so kind and beautiful and generous, and just, I was so grateful for that. And I just want to I would love for you to come on the journey with me, and I'll just show you how I move through it, just like I did through Steve being in the hospital, and then in his whole journey, and us not being at home and having to live from, in a different state, and just all that stuff. And I want to take you on this journey as well, because this is a journey that we all go through in some form with our identity. And then as part of that, we outsource our things, like maybe we're looking for someone to save us. I found myself looking for someone, like, could someone just do this and take care of that, rather than being at the helm of my own boat. And I'm talking about, like, Lynette was just even in the YouTube, I hired a coach. I don't know if I'll continue, because I'm not sure whether, I don't know that growing a channel it was never what I really wanted to do. What I really want is to get people's emails more than anything, so that I can stay in contact and share the things that I learn, and my blog posts and my podcast, and keep people not just on one channel, but anything that I do and what I learn and how I can share, and anything that has to do with my purpose and helping you. And that is literally to help you change your mental programs, and to remind you just, that who and what you really are, and how very powerful you really are. So that's a very big part of it. As I was going through today, I'm thinking, it is excelling in times of change, and it is helping you to understand that you can find success in every single area of your life. Yet it's so much more fundamental than that, and that is just being there through change, and being the human that we are, and how we move through, and how we take care of ourselves. And I don't know, there's just so much going through my head right now that I don't know. I'm just very, very grateful. I'm very grateful. If you've listened this far, I'm really hoping that this has been helpful for you in some way. And for one, knowing you're not alone, and two, knowing that it happens to all of us, that we can lose ourselves, and and really helping you to find yourself. You don't ever lose yourself, but it sure does feel that way when we're in these roles. They become our identity, and we get locked up in them. And it's good for us to name that and say, wow, I'm really, this is really important to me. Doesn't mean that it's not valuable, because I love being Steve's wife. I love being a wife. I love all the things that I did. And and I miss it. And so there I am in lack, right? An abundant universe. Yet, so it's fun to go through that, and not fun to go through what I'm going through, or what these kinds of things, but it's interesting. Fun's probably not the right word, although that is a core value of mine, having fun, and need to put more of that into my life right now. Yet just finding that we are in these roles, and they have affected us, and we've lost ourselves on planet Earth. Again, I'm not talking about the spiritual journey. I'm talking about the human experience, and feeling like we've lost ourselves. And who are we if we're not that? The kids that now we're an empty nester, and or we're divorced, so we don't have the partner anymore, especially if they left us, right? Because then we've got rejection that we have to deal with, or just whatever it is, losing a job. Now I got fired, and now who am I? So not only now you have to figure out how to live, but who am I? Like, now what do I do? And so there's, we get these double, triple, however whammies, and it can just affect us and throw us off. And I really want to define what I'm doing for myself, and make it work, help other people, help you if you're going through these, any kind of this identity loss of self, of just returning to self. And so there's a lot more compassion because of this in me, and a lot more desire to really move deeper into my purpose and serving. And because on planet Earth, the human experience, it is, we can get so lost in those identities and lose that sense of self. And that's not, well, and I really want to help myself, and because it always starts with ourselves, right? If you want to change the world, start by changing yourself, because that frequency, literally, you're vibrating at a higher frequency when you are changing yourself, and then you change your loved ones, the environment, like all that, just speaking frequency and vibration and all that fun, beautiful thing, those things. But just that understanding and naming it, and then the ability to move through it, that's very high on my mind right now. And I have a lot of love and compassion for anyone if you are going through that. I'm just, my heart is with you, because it's not easy, and yet it's such an opportunity to grow and explore the self-discovery, and get to, like, for me, I get to learn, who is Lenny? What is Lenny like? What is Lenny without Steve? Who is she, and what does she want to do? And I get to do all of that. I get to start all over. And I almost have a little bit of giddiness about that, as much as I had the just huge flood of tears, like, I have no idea who I am. Who am I without Steve? Well, now there's an opportunity to explore that self-discovery, and that's very empowering and very powerful. So, part of the human experience that I am looking forward to. Thank you for allowing me to share, and I hope this has been helpful for you. I love you so very, very much. Oh, I believe in you. You can do it. You can change your self-talk. You can change that the mental picture of who you are. You can name the identities that the roles that you have, and you've identified with that identity, and that's who you are. And you can move away into consciousness as to what you really are, especially in meditation. And you can have a beautiful life. You can excel in times of change, just as I am. And I'm going to continue to show you that you can do that and how you can do that. And if you'd like to work with me, I'm going to start. I haven't started yet, but I'm going to start the group coaching. And I think I'll slow down on the one-on-one and just really start. I'd really like to help more people in a group coaching setting. So if that's something you're interested in, just stay tuned, or go to lennymotivates.com and sign up for my newsletter so you can be on my email list. I'll put that I always put that in the description. I'd love to have you on my email list. That's something that's what I would really love, is to be able to communicate more one-on-one rather than just maybe you pop in, maybe you don't. And this way, then you know what's going on and the things that I offer and what I've learned and sharing in my blog posts and my podcast and all of that. So, so that's the story. I love you so very, very mucho. Let's get a smile on our face and read this one last time. Let's turn it around. How's that? Right now is a great time to make the choice. Gather your energy, fine tune your focus. Look at how exciting I'm getting now. Get a clear picture of what you want to accomplish. Decide to do it. Smile. Say yes to yourself. Take a deep breath and go for it. And that's how we do it. And this is a self-talk. Like, that is, I read that and I'm like, yes, yes. Because my brain is rewired to say yes to things rather than that's not me. That's not what I would do. This isn't a good time. I'm sad. It was like, yes, this is a good time. I was like, yeah, my brain has rewired. Because I probably, if that would have happened 2 years ago, I'd probably be like in the glooms and dooms and say, that's not me at all. Anyway, this is me, this is you, this is self-talk. And this is the way to change your programs, your mental programs, from negative to positive. I love you so very, very much. As always, shining my light to brighten yours. See you tomorrow. Ciao.